let's start out with this whole thing about these hot lanes, high occupancy vehicles. They've turned into high occupancy toll lanes, which is a fancy way of saying, you pay more to use the lane where you don't have to go slow with the riffraff, the high speed lane. You just pay a little extra. Lexus lanes. What a fine idea. Randal O'Toole, a senior fellow with the CATO Institute, author of several books, including The Vanishing Automobile and Other Urban Myths, cato.org, of course, the website, on the line with us. Hey, Randal.
Hi.
So why should any state, now this, first of all, the 9 states have put this into place: California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Minnesota, Texas, Utah, and Washington. They let rich people drive faster for a price. This makes no sense to me. It's like saying, if you pay a little more for the if you tip the fire department, they'll come faster. I mean, don't we have this thing called the commons, where at least at the level of the stuff that we all collectively own, like our roads, we're all treated equally?
Well, the tragedy of the commons is that they get overused. And when you have a commons, and in terms of a highway, it gets heavily congested and you get stuck in traffic.
Well, if you're going to quote Garrett Harding, you
will use the hot lanes. But in fact, studies show that everybody needs to get to work on time sometimes. For example, in California, there's a hot lane. It costs $9 to use it, and they interviewed people who were not rich, and they said, hey, my babysitter charges me $5 per child per minute if I'm late. So it's worth it for me to pay $9 to avoid being a couple minutes late.
Yeah, the old babysitter story, I know, is the one that you guys are pushing. And if you're going to quote Garrett Harding on the tragedy of the commons, you should read the piece, because this would defy that. In fact, what Garrett Harding, when he wrote that back in the 60s, his point was that this is the tragedy of the commons. It's not overgrazing. It's the abuse of the commons by very wealthy people. That's the tragedy of the commons. Is somebody coming in and saying, oh yeah, we're gonna separate out our own little piece of this and exploit it to the benefit of everybody else. You may have an occasional person who's trying to get home to pay the babysitter, but the vast majority of people who are, there's a lot of, as you well know, Randal, there are a lot of people in this country for whom spending an extra $1,000 a month or a year, as the case may be, to be able to travel in luxury in their Lexus and not have to hang out with the riffraff is frankly no big deal. Why should I be paying for the cost in terms of everything from eminent domain, taking that land in the first place, to the building of the highway, the construction of the highway, which we're all paying for, to the protection of the highway, the police, the fire, the emergency services? Why should all of us be paying for that so that we can have a special lane that rich people pay a little extra for, and they can drive 60 or 70 miles an hour instead of 20 or 30 or 40?
Well, I actually think that all lanes should be tolled, because tolls will allow the highway owners to make sure the roads never get congested. And I think it's worth it for everybody to not have to deal with congested traffic. But there is a lot of resistance to tolling all the lanes. So right now, the idea is, if we build new lanes, let's toll the new lanes and have those lanes be uncongested so that people have a choice.
Right, so you see
life
this...
is about choices. When you go to a grocery store, you can buy hamburger or filet mignon. When you go get some clothes...
The grocery store is not part of the commons.
Made suit,
a clothing store is not part of the commons.
Suit. And the choices people make are based on their own particular concerns.
Grocery stores and clothing stores are not part of the commons. They are not essential to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the reason for which this country was established. The reason why we created this country was to define and protect the commons. And I get it that libertarians like you believe that there should be no transportation commons. I'm assuming that you also don't think that we should have rail systems that are our railroads should be owned by the government, Amtrak, privatize the whole thing, right?
Well, you say you've read Garrett Hardin's Tragedy of the Commons. I knew Garrett Hardin, and I don't think he was saying what you're saying he said.
Okay.
The tragedy of the commons is that if you have a commons, it's going to be overused.
Well, the example he was using was the original Boston
commons. You want to take things that don't have to be a commons and make them into a commons as if it's somehow a good thing, that we have a lot of things that are going to be overused and harmed through that overuse.
No, for the record, the tragedy of the commons,
billions of dollars of
filibustering me is no way to win an argument, Randall. It really isn't. And his whole point in the tragedy of the commons, which has been made many, many times, is that if the commons is free to all, then those, and he was talking about the Boston Commons and people bringing their sheep or their cows in there, that eventually somebody's going to come along with the giant herd and say, okay, I'll use this, and basically bump everybody else out. Right? Hello?
No, eventually everybody together will overuse it. If you have 20 people or 200 people or 2,000 people who have access to it, they'll each use it a little bit too much.
Well, his piece was in defense of the commons. You're arguing that there should be no commons.
Freeways, we don't have some rich person coming in and running 10,000 cars. We have each person in their own individual cars, and because it's the commons, the highways are overused. And they're heavily congested. It costs people billions of dollars a year. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars of wasted fuel a year. It leads to all kinds of air pollution. Anything we can do to relieve congestion is a good thing. And the best way to relieve congestion
is by letting rich people have their own lanes.
Variable tolls.
No, I don't disagree with you, actually, that putting a toll on a road will discourage people from using it and thus reduce the use of it and encourage things like carpooling. But saying that, and in fact, this was the original HOV rationale, which I support. I think everybody pretty much supported, which was, if you have 2 people or 3 people or more in your car, then you can travel in this faster lane, and you don't have to pay anything for that. You have to be a part of the community. You have to agree to this social standard. You're saying, though, that to hell with the social standard, whoever's got the most money gets the best perks.
It's not a matter of who has the most money.
Who's willing to spend the most money?
What is your priority? Do you have to get somewhere on time today? In which case, you'll decide to drive at a time that it might cost a little more. We're not talking about a fixed toll. We're talking about a variable toll.
No, we're talking about a special lane. We're not talking about the entire highway.
During the peak period of the day, and if we can just...
Randall, we're talking about a special lane, not the entire highway. I
think it works better with the entire highway, but let's talk about a special lane. If we have a special lane that allows free-flowing traffic all the time, experience shows that special lane takes a lot of traffic off of the untolled lanes.
So the rich using their own special lane will trickle down to us by reducing the consumption for all the rest of them. Okay, got it. Randal O'Toole, Senior Fellow with the Cato Institute, cato.org. Randall, thanks for dropping by today.
Thank you.